And here's the final result. This is always a strange moment when the radio is finally done. You know you're hooked on this stuff when you're actually sad that the job is finished. It's a contradiction, but hey, I'm sure if you're into this sort of thing, you know what I mean. This thing came out beautifully. I know I say that all the time. I guess I'm repeating myself, but oh well. Get fascinated with the result. If you recall, this was a Bakelite radio, so it's not wood. And the polishing of this thing was actually quite an interesting process. I went through some videos on YouTube. One of my viewers recommended I look at B. Anderson TV channel. And that's where I got some more tips to get the Bakelite polished. With very few exceptions, the grill cloth is perfect. There's a bit of a stain at the top that didn't come out. But basically it's pretty clean. As for the hardware, well, look for yourself. Those knobs were black. The brass trim was completely dull, almost black. And I'm going to reference a little video above that shows you how I polished this on the cheap. I found a very cheap alternative to the buffing tools that you can buy for the rotary tools we use. Those things are very expensive. It's something like 18 euros for two, and you go through them in minutes. So I got a bit tired of spending all that money and I decided to make my own, and the result was pretty good. The faceplate resulted perfectly. There was nothing wrong with it. The piano keys, same story, they were perfect. And over here we have the two pre-select tone controls. Again, that trim is brass, and it was also polished using my new buffing system. Same with that logo. These things were completely dull and blackish, so they came out pretty well. And finally, we have the logo, which I didn't buff completely. I just buffed out the letters because the horizontal strip is actually supposed to be slightly darker. But yeah, that's it. That's our Grundig 1070 done. Let's listen to it and see what we get. Right, so starting with the most important part, FM. Let's see what we got. If you recall, this was not working originally at all. It's got a hell of a lot of bass, a hell of a lot. These cabinets with these massive speakers in them really put out some bass.
Falar de cartões, não sei se hoje já...
Finally somebody talking. We can actually play this without a copyright problem.
Por acaso já usei hoje.
Eu escapei, mas disse à minha mulher para ela pagar.
Estás a falar de um cartão multibanco?
É um cartão multibanco, no caso é um cartão multibanco.
That is just too bassy, you've got to bring it down.
Quem é que tem que arcar com as taxas?
Too low, that's minimum.
Tem o restaurante aberto ou a entidade bancária?
Exatamente, essa é a mesma questão, de facto. E a banca naturalmente defende que devem ser os comerciantes a pagar esta taxa sobre pagamento com
Here's our speech music, it's on music.
Do PSPCP e Bloco de Esquerda.
You can hear the highs get higher, the bass gets cut out.
Código do imposto de selo, lá está a taxa, para definir que são as instituições financeiras a pagar
Volume is amazing.
as operações de pagamento com cartões. Ora, a Associação Portuguesa de Bancos diz que esse imposto de selo deve ser cobrado aos comerciantes.
by your side. I taste the sweet.
Fundação, com Manuel dos Santos, quer influenciar a agenda mundial.
Just something strange that I want to point out here. This FM dial does not have the frequency on it. It doesn't have megahertz on it. I know it goes from about 88 to about 100 as usual, but it's actually got the channels rather than the frequency. Let me show you. If you look over there, you see it starts at channel 2 on that end, and it goes to channel 43, 44 where we're at. So I know that in the start of FM they used to do it this way. You wouldn't have frequencies. You'd a particular radio station be transmitting on channel whatever, and you just knew what channel it was and you went to it. And that's what we have here. The other thing that's interesting is the magic eye, which I keep not being able to get the right lighting for it. Let me try. That's better. Make this a bit darker. Let's make it. There we go. As you can see, the magic eye is working perfectly. We've got a channel here with full reception. As you go off, comes back, and there we go. So the magic eye, what I did do, instead of increasing the supply voltage, which is a trick you can use to liven up a dull magic eye, I had another one here which was in better shape, so I swapped that out. Hence the very bright result. And that's our FM, which is what I wanted. That was the part that was most important to me. And I got a wonderful result. I can put this in my office and hear it all the way from the lounge with very good quality sound, very good clarity. And it really is a great set. It really is. I'm surprised again. The other thing that's very good is the pickup input, which I connect to my iPhone with this thing. There's a link above to where I make one of these. This is a stereo. You connect this to your iPod, your MP3 player, whatever, and the result is a proper mono signal. That's your ground, that's your signal. Inside here, the left and right channel get linked, get added with two 1K resistors. I put it inside this little former. I've actually just written down what it is there, so I know what it is after a while if I find this lying around. And the result is I can use this as a power amp for music, and it sounds pretty good. I've already shown you what the power amp sounds like, or at least the electrical result of the power amp. We looked at it in the last video with the signal generator input and looking at it on the scope. We're getting about just under 2 watts clean power from this. Again, I'll mention that this is rather deceptive. People tend to think 2 watts is very low, but when you hear 2 watts on this with these kinds of speakers, it is unbelievable. So that is the other part of the radio that's important to me. That's the pickup input when I want to hear music on this. I can also simply connect, as I usually do, something like this, which is just a Bluetooth receiver, and you just plug this into there, and the result is you switch it on, pair it to your phone, connect this to the back of your radio, and this receives whatever your phone is streaming. So you can listen to your music, adjust the volume from anywhere, really, well, practically anywhere in the house. These things are very cheap. This isn't a particularly high quality one, but again, these radios are not hi-fi. They are the sound you like or don't like. So, you know, you can experiment with one of these. These things are pretty good. I've got quite a few of them. I occasionally buy different ones to see which are better. This is Bluetooth 4.2, so it's fairly recent. And it picks up from a decent distance, and the quality is pretty good as well. Right, and that is the FM and the pickup side of things. Now let's look at medium wave and long wave. As you probably know by now, if you watch my videos, there isn't much on these channels here in Madeira. If you don't know, I live on the island of Madeira. We are about 600 kilometers west of Morocco, Casablanca. We belong to Portugal, and we're in the middle of the bloody Atlantic. And so, as far as getting any reception from a, call it nearby station, forget it. It's the only ones we have locally is one station transmitting a medium wave. And just to make it worse, it's a pretty crappy station with a very low power transmitter. And the result is abysmal, and that's it. And if you could get it better, you wouldn't want to listen to it. But that's usually what happens with these bands. They go out of fashion. This one's gone, almost completely gone from Madeira. We do pick up some stuff from Canary Islands. Strangely enough, we pick up the Canary Islands one better than we do the Madeiran one. And just bear in mind, this island is about 55 kilometers long by about 20 kilometers wide. So we are very close to the transmitters anywhere on the island. But because we're pretty mountainous, the transmitter's on the other side of a few hills. Canary Islands is right across the water. I think about 600 kilometers away. I'm not quite sure about the distance. So this is Canary Islands. And sometimes you get another few further along the dial. The point is that a medium wave is working perfectly as well. And so is long wave, but not that we can pick up anything either. I get one station in the evenings here. So all the channels are working well. I want to show you why I didn't do an RF alignment on this thing. First of all, on the FM, there's really no point doing an RF alignment. There's no point trying to get an exact correlation between what you see on the dial and the transmission frequency of the particular station, because we don't have transmission frequencies here. We have those channels, as I mentioned. So there would be no point getting it on the dial. As far as the medium wave is concerned, what I've found is that everywhere on the dial, the result, the actual transmission coming through, is about half a centimeter to the left of what you see on the screen. And I'll show you. I'll put out a signal with my signal generator. We'll use the signal generator as a transmitter. So let's do that. Let's internal modulation. It's on modulation. I'm transmitting a 1 megahertz signal at 1 volt peak to peak. It's coming out of here, and I've just wired it up to a piece of wire that's hanging from my light up here. So that's my antenna, and I'll show you what we're actually getting on there. So if you recall, I said 1 megahertz. There it is. It's actually closer than half a centimeter to the 1 megahertz side. Okay, now I'll show you the two extremes of the scale. I've set the signal generator to 550, and there it is, just to the right actually of the scale here. Let's look at the other end. Signal generator is at 1.6 megahertz. There we go. 1.6 megahertz, just to the left of the scale. So it's not bad. Let's have a look at long wave. I'm going to put the signal generator to about 350 kilohertz. 350 kilohertz. There it is. Just to the left. Let's look at the middle of the scale. Middle of the scale is about 225, which is what I've set it to. Just to the left. The right end of the scale, it's at 150. And I can hear it about there. The AM bands are just slightly off, and they're off in the same direction in all cases. So you could actually get away with just moving the dial pointer slightly. But this dial point is a little bit difficult to move. It's got a spring on it. So I decided to leave it like that, and it's going to stay like that. And that, my friends, is the result of this little exercise. The radio is finished. I'm really happy with the result. Just very strangely, my 17-year-old daughter likes it. I think it's got to do with the white band on the front. Maybe I should paint all radios partly white, and maybe teenagers would fall for this hobby. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something, enjoyed it, and will join me again for future restorations. It won't be long, believe me.